and welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the investigation of the origination of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the actual virus itself. And back in February, I proposed the theory that the virus may be a bioweapon produced in the virology laboratory in Wuhan. And now it's, top of the news, both mainstream and alternative news platforms. And I'm going to readdress that same issue today. Where did this SARS-CoV-2 virus come from? Initially, the idea that China intentionally released the biological agent as a bioweapon was proposed. I proposed it back in February, and that's because of the proximity of the Wuhan Research Laboratory to the Wuhan wet market. Now, we know that was a general area that the first cases were suspected. I'm not sure if that's been proven yet, if they've released the information about the first one or two cases. But in my search for information about the laboratory itself, I found this article in Wikipedia about the Wuhan Virology Research Laboratory, and that's what it's called. And I'm going to read you the information that I found, and I'll let you ponder and draw your own conclusions. Okay. Coronavirus research. Back in 2005, a group, including researchers from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, published research into the origin of the original SARS coronavirus, and finding that China's horseshoe bats are natural reservoirs of SARS-like coronaviruses. Continuing this work over a period of years, researchers from the Institute sampled thousands of horseshoe bats in locations across China, isolating over 300 bat coronavirus sequences. In 2015, the Institute published successful research on whether bats' coronavirus could be made into infect humans. A team from the Institute engineered hybrid virus combining a bat coronavirus with SARS virus 1 that had been adapted to grow in mice and mimic human disease. The hybrid virus was able to infect human cells. Now, this article was written years ago, so it's not, what information I've just read is not new. It's not been published since this current epidemic. Now, in 2019, an article was written regarding the coronavirus pandemic, and this goes back to December of 2019. Cases of pneumonia associated with an unknown coronavirus were reported to health authorities in Wuhan. Now, this is in December last year. The Institute, the Virology Institute, checked its coronavirus collection and found the new virus was 96% identical to samples that its research had taken from the horseshoe bats in southwest China in years before. As the virus spread worldwide, the Institute continued its investigation. In February of this year, 2020, the New York Times reported that a team led by Shi Zhengli at the Institute were the first to identify, analyze, and name the genetic sequence of the novel coronavirus 2019 nCoV. At that time, that's what it was called. And upload they uploaded it to the public databases for scientists around the world to understand, and publishing papers in Nature. So when they say that nobody was told about the virus, I guess we can go back to that journal called Nature and read what they had said way back then. Well, then in February of 2020, the Institute applied for a patent in China for the use of remdesivir, an experimental drug owned by Gilead Sciences, which the Institute found inhibited the virus in vitro, in a move which also raised concerns regarding international intellectual property rights. In a statement, the Institute said it would not exercise its new Chinese patent rights to remdesivir if relevant foreign companies intend to contribute to the prevention and control of China's epidemic. Well, the Institute was rumored as a source for the 2019-2020 coronavirus pandemic as a result of allegations of bioweapon research. And we know that goes on. And this is a concept that some U.S. experts have rejected. I don't understand why, but not for me to judge. And they noted that the Institute was not suitable for bioweapon research, that most countries had abandoned bioweapons as fruitless, and that there was no evidence that the virus was genetically engineered. Now, this is way back in February. Virus expert and global lead coronavirus investigator Trevor Bedford observed that and I'm quoting here, the evidence we have is that mutations in the virus are completely consistent with natural evolution. On the other hand, even before the outbreak of the pandemic, some virologists questioned whether previous experiments on creating novel coronaviruses in the lab justified the potential risk of accidental release. Well, during January and February, the Institute was subject to further conspiracy theories and concerns that it was the source of the outbreak through accidental leakage, which it publicly refuted. Members of the Institute's research teams were also subject to various theories, including that scientist that I quoted earlier, who made various public statements defending the Institute. Now, bear in mind, she is the very doctor who spent, I believe, years in Australia studying bats and bat viruses before she came back to China. Well, while Ebright refuted several of the conspiracy theories regarding the Wuhan Institute of Virology, he told the BBC News China that this did not represent the possibility of the virus being completely ruled out from entering the population due to a laboratory accident. And time will tell whether that is the findings that the current investigation will come up with. My thoughts are that yes, it was an accidental release, but yes, there was work going on in the Institute regarding the use of viruses as bioweapons. Otherwise, somewhere in here, we would have found research relating to developing vaccines, developing treatments, but we haven't been given that information. So why else would they spend so much time and effort and a whole institute and all the scientists to be studying bat viruses? So, whether the release or the escape of this novel coronavirus was intentional or accidental, that is yet to be determined. And before I end this, I'm going to talk just a little bit about another incident that corroborates the intentional release scenario. In a recent video produced by Leak Project, a YouTube channel, Rex Bear has uncovered a U.S. patent that indicates that as early as 2007, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, was issued a patent for the coronavirus. Now, this would have been the original one. Well, I'm hoping the purpose of developing a vaccine was their primary goal. But if that was the case, we'd be a lot closer today to having a vaccine than we are. So I'm not sure what happened, what transpired regarding this patent between 2007 and 2020. I don't know. Well, we don't know what's coming in the future regarding the vaccinations. If they'll be required, mandated, if they'll be used as, some kind of a mark, whether it be visible or not visible. That's the fear of a lot of people. Time will tell what happens there. Well, as our lockdown now is slowly opening, my suggestion is to keep up with the developments of the spread of the coronavirus and know what your local authorities are doing to prevent the epidemic from spreading, because it is still spreading. The guidelines for opening retail and businesses, public businesses, was 2 weeks of no increase, 2 weeks of decrease in cases. And apparently none of the states that are opening have fulfilled that requirement, that they have gone 2 weeks, 14 days without an increase, because I think, as far as I know, every state is increasing to some degree, some, of course, more than others. So remember that you wear a mask because you don't want to spread the virus, whether you have it or not, because we all know that there are asymptomatic carriers, pre-symptomatic people who are contagious, but they haven't developed symptoms yet. So, and we don't all have the N95 masks to prevent us from getting the disease. Those are relinquished only to health professionals, even though the manufacture is increasing all over our country and all over the world. And in fact, President Trump is coming today here to Phoenix to visit one of the manufacturing companies that has retrofitted their equipment to make N95 masks. So we'll see what comes of that. And I smile because, is he going to wear a mask? He better wear a mask today, I tell you. When he said, I recommend everyone wear a mask, CDC recommends wearing a mask, but I'm not going to wear one. Well, personally, I'm going to wear one, and I hope everybody that I come in contact with has one on, because that's the only way we're going to prevent the spread. Because if everyone wears a mask, even if it's a bandana or a t-shirt or a scarf or paper towels made into a mask, or dust masks or painter's masks or hospital surgical masks, whatever, if everyone wears a mask, this disease will not spread, or some kind of a facial covering. But the one person without a mask is the weak link, and that chain will cause a cascading effect of spread. There are many videos showing how to make your own mask, do it yourself, and it seems like people have had a lot of fun figuring out different ways to design masks and to make masks with or without sewing. And you just have to do a quick search of do-it-yourself masks, and you'll find hundreds of ideas put out there. Well, I even have made a couple of videos about masks, making your own mask, and I'll put those links below. Well, please continue to social distance, even if you're at the beach, or if the theater's open, just don't sit by anybody. Keep that distance so you can protect yourself, and continue to wash your hands. We've been told from the beginning that's the best way to avoid getting the virus into your face, your mucous membranes in your nose and mouth. So, and keep away from crowds, airports and social gatherings. stay with your family and those who you're personally have daily contact with, but don't unnecessarily stand in lines, close proximity with people who don't have masks on. Well, regardless of what happens during this time when our country begins the opening up, it is still of dire importance to protect our elders. They are the most susceptible to developing complications and death. And encourage your loved ones to still continue to stay at home, and don't expose them to anyone without a mask, and especially children. And I know that children are wanting to see their grandparents and great aunts and uncles, but just don't risk it for them. Well, I'm going to end this video with a quote from my late brother-in-law, and he always said this: if you have a choice, don't be dumb. I love you all, and please stay safe. I am Natasha.